listening to this show. Whether you're in your car, on your computer, at your desk, on your phone, hanging out with your friends, watching us live on YouTube, or listening to your podcast, it's the Revert Radio Show, broadcasting from the studios of 1440 AM WNKM Detroit, with your host, Abdullah. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Start a show by the name of Allah, the Most High, the Most Merciful, the especially merciful. We praise Him as He is the one and only, owed the praise. We praise Him because He's the one who blessed us with this life, blessed us with this day, blessed us with everything. Allah, the Most High, the Exalted, is the one and only deity worthy of being worshipped. Thank you all for being with us today, or whenever you're watching or listening to this. Thank you for being a part of this, as this is your show, and we're only here sharing information with you all. As we talked about in our show yesterday about choosing companions and friendships, and talked about other things that is similar to that and very tied in, with the flow, trying to stay talking about things that matter, that make sense, things that we are experiencing in this life, in our society, and in this environment that we're living in, whether it's here in America or outside of this country. The world is experiencing very similar things, very similar issues. Today, we're going to be touching somewhat. We're not going to be able to cover it all, of course, because this topic is a very big topic. We are going to be talking about drugs and getting high. And of course, this leads us to something even bigger with this show, which is talking about the people who actually supply these drugs. Now, again, we're not talking from a scholar, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a professor. I'm only sharing things that I've experienced in my life and sharing things that I've read and heard about throughout, my life, and books and different experiences that I've seen in my life. And as we all have experienced and seen at least somebody who has done drugs before, somebody who is addicted to drugs maybe. And it doesn't only mean that, marijuana or weed as we know it, cocaine, heroin, all that stuff. We're talking about so many other big things. But there's a principle in Islam, as a revert, I need to look at when I deal with things, when I deal with supplies that, I feel like maybe getting into one day. Or maybe my friends with peer pressure are kind of influencing me to try or to test. Maybe sometimes our life are in situations, or our lives are in different situations that put a lot of pressure on us, that we always look for a way out, or we always look for a minute to kind of tone everything out and kind of be in a zone by ourselves, to stop thinking about the matters that are affecting us, the problems, the different issues that are, that we are experiencing. Because life is all nothing but trials. And, we come in and out of trials every day. Every day we come in and out of trials that we always wish that there's a moment that, man, I'm tired of this. I want out. I want out of this for a minute, maybe just 1 minute, maybe 1 hour. And that's why a lot of people kind of lean towards getting high, getting intoxicated, getting somewhere where they can call themselves, I'm in a zone right now. Yo, leave me alone. I don't want to think about this. I don't want to think about any of these troubles or problems that I'm in, because it's just nothing but headaches. But after you're done with that high, what happens is that you come crashing back into these problems, head-on collision. as if nothing really mattered in the past hour. Nothing changed. You just got high, kind of stepped away from that problem that you were in, and then now you're right back into it. Getting high is a problem. It's hitting every society, every community in the world. Whether it's here in America, whether here in Detroit City, whether you're out in the UK, in the Middle East, wherever you are, drugs are being offered to youngsters mostly, because as we know that youngsters might be able to get addicted faster than those that might be a little older, more mature. And drug dealers are smart. They're smart in an evil way, in a devil satanic way, where they try to inject these drugs in because it makes them profit, it makes them money. So they don't care about the consequence of this drug. All they care about the consequence of the sale itself. They want that money, they want that profit. So they don't care what lives got affected by this drug. They don't care what families got affected by this drug. They care about the sale. That's all they care about. If you ever try to come and look at the drug dealer's life, you probably see it drug-free. They don't allow their kids to use the drugs. They don't allow themselves to use the drugs. As you know, if you're in the hip-hop game or here, drug dealers say don't get high on your own supply, because it just doesn't make any sense to be selling the drug and also getting intoxicated by it. Now, there's a rule, as we mentioned, in the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as we know, the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes to us in two different types. One of them is the Quran, and the other one is the Hadith, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, and whatever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw and accepted to be part of the religion. And that's revelation, because the Prophet ﷺ doesn't speak from his own. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals to him what to say and what to do. So the revelation is two, the Quran and the Sunnah, which is the Hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And the Hadith interprets the Quran, because without the Hadith, we won't be able to learn the Quran, the Islam correctly. We won't be able to pray. We won't be able to give our zakat. We won't be able to know the rules of the fasting, when we start, when we end. We won't be able to know a lot of things in our life. Hajj, Umrah, Sadaqah, all these things are in the Hadith, as we mentioned before. So in the Hadith, in this revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to us from him by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was that or in Arabic, we'll say in Arabic first, we say kullu muskirin khamr wa kullu muskirin haram, or kullu muskirin. Yeah, it's almost all the narrations from different people who heard it from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it in almost the same exact narration. Kullu muskirin khamr wa kullu muskirin haram. So every intoxicant is khamr, or is liquor or beer, or and every beer or liquor or intoxicant also is haram. Haram is unlawful or forbidden by Allah, the Most High, the Exalted. So when we come to understand what intoxicants are, we see why they are haram, why they are forbidden. Now, you might come to me or to us or to the world and say, you know what, I need this drug. I need it because my body needs it. My body cannot go without it. Why? Because I might be under a disease, or I might be under an illness or something that I need this specific drug to get me by, to allow me to live good in this life. Now, when it comes to medical issues, you go to the doctor and you talk to the doctor about it. We're talking about getting high for the pleasure of getting high, for the pleasure of zoning out and getting out of this world for that moment of getting high. So what is intoxicants? What are intoxicants? In different meanings and different definitions, and an intoxicant is something that will get you out of your official or original or your regular thinking, your regular brain. Your brain is thinking in a way where, as a normal brain, things looks for the right thing to do and guide you towards the right things in your life. But when you intoxicate it, then what happens to that brain? It kind of shuts down, or it goes into a different phase where you might start thinking of things in a different way. You might see things in a different way. You actually can start seeing the colors differently, or hearing things differently. Or so intoxicating is getting you out of your norm. That's just basically the bottom line of it, getting you out of your original form that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah the Most High, the Creator, created you upon. So you get this intoxicant, whatever drug it is that you are working with, and you take it, and then it kind of affects you in a very abnormal way. You would do things that you usually do and you wouldn't normally do. You would even say things that you wouldn't normally say, or wouldn't even normally think that it's accurate to say. You might go in a zone where you think differently about the world. Some people actually come to a zone where they think that this life is unnecessary. They think that there's a better thing outside of this life. So sometimes they actually take their life away after taking this intoxicant. So they got their life lost because of this one moment that they wanted to live in, one moment that they felt like, I can't tolerate this life anymore. Let me get into a zone to stop thinking about this real quick, and then I come right back to it. And sometimes people actually do this for a moment, thinking that, what, I'm not going to get addicted to it. I'm a smart person. I'm an intelligent person. I know what I'm doing. I do what I think is proper, but I just want to try this out. And then you do get high, and then all of a sudden, you start wanting to chase that high again and again and again. As we mentioned before, that peer pressure or friendship can lead you into things that you don't think is right, but you are pressured into it because you don't want to get your friends upset, or you don't want to get your friends to look at you differently and be like, oh, look at him. He's a coward. Oh, look at him. He's scared. He doesn't want to try this. Forget about him. Don't hang out with him. So you want to do it so they can hang out with you more, so you can be accepted by them, so you can please them. Now, is that right? In the normal sense, you say, of course. I wouldn't throw myself off a building because my friends think it's cool. But in this case, I'm just going to try this, maybe a couple of puffs. If you're talking about, intoxicants that you can smoke, or maybe I tried a couple of lines, or maybe I tried these couple of pills or something because I'm at a party that would probably make me feel better in this environment that I'm in. Because when you are at places where these drugs are served and being used normally, you would want to be part of the crowd, so you're not looked at in a different way. You don't want to stand out. Everybody's doing drugs, everybody's high, everybody's drunk. So you're looking at everybody and be like, okay, why am I not doing this? I need to be doing this. So nobody would look at me differently, or nobody would look at me in a weird way. So you get yourself high or drugged in any way or form it is that you get drugged, whether you're injecting yourself or sniffing something or snorting something or drinking something or smoking something. Altogether, you are getting high. Now, for the moment of getting high, you know that it's wrong. You know for sure, for certain, that it's wrong. What you're doing is not good. It's not right for you to do, not for your thinking, and it's not right for your physical, for your body to inhale these things or take these things or absorb them somehow, somewhere. You know it's going to hurt you somehow. But you're saying, I have to do it because you have pressures on you. Now, to be able to get out of that pressure, And speaking of, again, normal situations, you don't need to put yourself in that specific place in order for you to be accepted. So we have to think about the things that will get us into these situations that will put us in the misery of having to try this. Sometimes you think back to yourself and be like, why did I do that? That was so stupid. Or sometimes you see a video of yourself after getting intoxicated or getting drunk or getting high, seeing yourself doing things that you will never, ever think of doing in your life, in your normal life. But then you got intoxicated and then you did exactly everything that you didn't want to do. There's a famous story of a person who was offered to either get intoxicated or fornicate or kill somebody. And, because the person has no knowledge of what these different issues are. So, but he knew that, killing somebody, of course, is bad for sure. Fornicating is bad for sure. He said, the least thing that I can do, or maybe the least bad thing that I can do here, is maybe getting intoxicated. I'm a smart person. I won't let things like this affect me. So he got intoxicated. And little did he know that once he got intoxicated, he's not thinking normally again. So he was influenced into fornicating. He was influenced into killing someone. And then by that intoxication, the devil was able to get him into doing all sins at once. That's why they always call that the mother of all sins. And that is in the Sunnah or in the Hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, that the mother of all sins is intoxication or intoxicants, or also used the word Khamr, which is beer or liquor or whatever you want to call it. Because intoxication doesn't only mean drinking and getting drunk. Intoxication could also be using some prescription drugs off the counter, something off the shelf that everybody buys. Intoxication could be something that is made up in your head, and you keep thinking about it, and then boom, you start doing it, and you become intoxicated. Could be cutting your wrist, could be bleeding to death, could be so many things can get you into the intoxicant form or way of your reality. So intoxication could also be drinking, could also be getting high by smoking weed or marijuana, could also be sniffing or snorting some kind of powder, such as we know, as in heroin or cocaine or something. Sometimes it's injecting, sometimes it's taking different types of pills. A lot of times people also, as in doctors, they tell you, be careful, don't take that drug unless the doctor prescribes it to you, because it might become an intoxicant and your body might get addicted to this intoxicant. Painkillers could also be intoxicants, could get you out of that pain that you were looking to run away from. And then once you take that pill and you felt like there's no more pain, so you're out of that pain zone, you're in a zone where there's no pain, so you're out of that reality. So once that pain comes back, you're like, I gotta take that drug again. And it could just be something off of the shelf. And you keep taking it and taking it. And once people realize, or you realize that it's become an intoxicant, then you can't get out. You can't get off of it, because it became you became so focused on taking it so you could get rid of the pain, instead of doing some kind of physical therapy or some natural way of getting rid of this pain or this pressure that you're in. A lot of times you owe a lot of debt. Your job is not helping enough. You got to work 2 or 3 jobs to be able to pay the bills, to be able to pay the rent, to be able to move forward in your life. And then you only have a couple of dollars on you, and then you're like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What is it there that I can do? I'm already working, I'm doing this and this and that. And then you know what? You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get high just so I stop thinking about this for a minute. And then once I get rid of that high, then I'll think about it better. So you lose all your money on that high. You try to help heal yourself and heal that pain that you're experiencing by removing yourself away from that life, that reality, that real life that you're living in for a few minutes or a few hours or whatever it is, so that you don't think about this problem that you're in. But then bam, as soon as that high is done, you come crashing. You come crashing head on with this problem that you're living in. We'll talk real quick about a few ways to get rid of or to stop yourself from going in this route, on this bad road of getting high and intoxicants. So before we talk about drugs and bad people and stuff like that, we have to have in mind a way of how to get away from drugs, because we know drugs is around us. They're everywhere on the streets, even in professional places. Drugs are there. So how do we get away from getting in the habit, or even getting around the drugs or drug dealers or people who are influencing us and pressuring us into doing drugs? So many easy steps, and it doesn't really have to be from a scripture, or it doesn't really have to be from a doctor, it doesn't really have to be from a hadith or something like that. Easy steps to get away from drugs. And if you look up online, if you are a parent, if you are a teacher that want to help your kids or your students getting away from drugs and getting away from getting high and sort of things of intoxicants, then you can look up online, and there's a lot of trusted sources. There's a lot of .gov websites that can help into is keeping you away from drugs. And I will keep an eye out for any of the feedback that we get from you in order to suggest places like online sites for you and for me and for everybody to read up on, and to try to go and get guidance from, in order to stay away from drugs and help others stay away from drugs. One of the things that is very important is that you set a goal for your life. You have to set a goal for your life. You have to know which way your life is your life's direction is going. As a revert, my goal, my ultimate goal as a revert, as a Muslim, is Jannah. Jannah, which is paradise. Paradise, which is the best place that is rewarded to the one who obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, the Exalted, the way that He is supposed to be worshiping. That goal will get you to do the right thing, to move forward towards that direction. If you don't have a goal, and you don't have a way of knowing where you want to go in your life, then it's going to get frustrating for you. You're going to be very frustrated. You always want to try something new, always want to get into something new. And then all of a sudden, you get that buildup of pressure on you that you want to just give up. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you want. And then drugs could be an answer for you. And then getting intoxicated could be an answer for you. So you can zone out. You know what I mean? Another thing is, and this is basically of the routines of life that you can use as a revert Muslim or a non-Muslim or whatever you are, just listening and talking to people who you love and being around people that you love. Of course, if the people that you love is all about drugs and getting high and getting into parties with all these intoxicants in it, then I suggest, for me, myself, stay away from them. I try to stay away from that type of crowd, because that type of crowd is going to get you into that same problem again, which is getting high and getting intoxicated and staying away from your goal. Getting high is not the answer. So stay away from that and look for people who you love and love you. The people that love you, for sure, as we were talking about yesterday, your companions that really are trustworthy, and they are loving, they will definitely get you away from these situations. They will definitely get you from the places where you will hurt yourself. So for sure, your loved friend or companion won't allow you to cut yourself because that's harmful for you, and they will see you suffer this harmful thing that you're doing. So they don't want to see that. They don't want to see you going through that. So they'll definitely not allow you to do it, and at least they will advise you the hardest not to do it. And if you actually forget about them and ignore them, they will leave you alone. They'll actually leave you and go. But the good ones, they will stick with you and they stay upon you until you stay away from things like that. That's why you want to be around loved ones. You want to be around those people that love you and want the best for you. That's companionship. That's friendship. That's the true friendship. Another way of getting away from these situations of intoxicants and getting intoxicated is talking to somebody. If you have experienced drugs and think that you're not able to get off of that drug, you have to talk to somebody. There's always doctors and people who are professional enough to know the right place and the right words to get you out of this drug and to get you away from this drug that you are using and this habit that you're getting into. Because if you don't talk to somebody and you think that you're gonna solve it on your own, you're gonna be in trouble. Unless you're just, the know-it-all person, then you shouldn't be in the drug situation in the first place. So this is very important that you talk to somebody. And another thing is to do something good to make you feel good about yourself. Not drugs, but you can play sports. You can run. You could play some basketball. You could play some football. You could play some soccer. You could do so many things that could get you off of this, the thinking of drugs. So you got so much pressure in your life. Go play some sport. Go play some ball. Get this out of your system. Get these thoughts out of your system. That way you don't feel like you have to try a drug. You have to get high. You don't have to do any of that. Because we don't have a lot of time, I wish by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will go and search this topic by going to trusted sources, by going to friends that you know, go to the imam at the masjid, go to the people and the non-profit organizations that help you get away from these bad situations that you might get into. I really appreciate you being with us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us moving forward, getting the right topics on this show. I thank you again for being a part of this show and for coming through and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Thank you very much for being with us. This is your boy Abdullah, and this is the Revert Radio Show right here on 1440 AM WMKM. Peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.